the way the Sword and Scepter started was a conversation with Tim and I about the nature of masculine power. It started with Tim getting clear about his own sense of purpose. And he came to me and he said that he sees a body of work for himself emerging around men's power and contributing to men's power and leadership. And so he came to me and we talked about it, and we started to play with the idea of a workshop. And the essence of the workshop was based on the idea that, at least in this day and age, men seem to have a funky relationship to power. You know, if you think about the history of the feminist movement, it was women in the 60s and early 70s getting clear and clear about their own sense of identity, separate from men, and staking a claim in the ground about what feminine power, in effect, is for them. And men started to form consciousness-raising groups somewhere around that time, in some sense patterned after the women's groups. And the sense that I had, having been in some of those consciousness-raising groups, was that men were learning more about their feminine side. They were learning how to be more sensitive, to be more aware, to be more in relationship to powerful women, and learning how to let go of some of the patterns of masculinity that had been part of the natural part of the culture of men for a long time. But in the process, my experience was that a lot of men got very feminine and almost feminized, to the point where some of their own masculine power got neutered. And I think over time, there was a strong anti-masculine movement, in effect. And men got swept in that, feeling made wrong in some ways by the feminist movement and feeling made wrong by themselves, as the more feminine side of themselves questioned some of the masculine energy that had been a part of society for a long time. So we were playing with this, just looking at that whole stream of history, and came to the realization that we didn't have a strong sense of what it meant to be a man embodying our masculine power in a solid way. Actually, Tim and I think we did, but we hadn't had a definition of it or a clear training around it, a clear sense of what that means. And as we looked at other men in our circles, in our lives, a lot of men have very little sense of connection to their masculinity. And when they do, it comes out in funky ways. It's almost like our whole culture has disowned masculine power in its beauty and form that could take shape in society. So you see in the media, you see images of men acting like being depicted as buffoons or as having no power in relationship to women. And that's what a lot of our male generation grew up in, or even our younger generation grew up in, these images of neutered men.
Or the opposite, which is the powerful military master, the Terminator, yes, who can go and destroy and primarily destructive masculine power.
Exactly. So we decided to create an experience where men could explore what's true for them. Not so much what is society teaching us, not so what women are demanding of us or requiring of us, but what's true for ourselves. What's true in our own experience, and how do we embrace and embody more fully our masculine power? And that was the germination of it.
So for me, you left something out, which is the lack of role models, for clean, expressed masculine power. The workshop is a product of, in lieu of not having role models, experience it yourself.
Yes.
Here's a clean way of expressing and living your power.
Yes.
As a guy.
Yeah.
And I was one of those feminized men. I was an early feminist. I wanted women to love me. I found out what was required of me to do so. I found out how to love them and be kind to them and have all the gentleness that was required. And so I was in that position of being very good at loving women and being the way they wanted me to be, but I didn't have as much of a relationship with men that felt solid. Mm-hmm. And even though I was in business, I was trying to do business in a cooperative way, in a conscious way, and therefore a gentle and weak way.
Yeah.